A lesson learned, written by Secret Shadows. It was a typical Thursday in high school for Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy. They were in their last class for the day, a history class. The clock was ticking away, and the end of the school day was nearing. "I can't wait, Fluttershy," Rainbow whispered over to Fluttershy, who was sitting at a desk next to hers. "I just know I'm gonna pass this time," Rainbow said again, with more enthusiasm. Drawing the attention of the instructor, a large male Pegasus who was dressed in big round glasses and a bow tie. "Is there something you would like to share with the class, Miss Dash?" he asked. "No, sir, I was just, no," Rainbow said, stuttering for an answer. She was used to getting caught doing things in class, but this day was especially important to her, and she was trying a bit too hard not to mess it up. "Very well, then maybe you could tell us how our great leader Celestia brought order to Equestria," he asked. Just then, the bell rang. A single bead of sweat rolled down Rainbow's face and dripped onto her desk. She was worried that she might have messed up her chances. "Okay, everybody, remember to take your tests with you. They have your final score for the quarter," the instructor said, as students left the room taking papers off the teacher's desk. Fluttershy was one of the last ponies to take her test, as she always waited for Rainbow Dash at the end of class. Teach, where's my test?" Rainbow asked as she inspected the desk, making sure she didn't miss it. "Oh, Rainbow Dash, I need to speak to you about your test. Fluttershy, can you wait outside?" the instructor said. Fluttershy obeyed and left the room, closing the door behind her, leaving only Rainbow and the instructor in the room. He opened his desk and pulled out the test with his mouth and set it on the desk in front of Rainbow. What she saw ruined her entire day. The D-, she exclaimed. She was very upset. Rainbow wasn't usually the one to get upset over a test. In fact, she bombed most of her exams. Something very important was writing this exam, though. "Rainbow Dash, as I said on Tuesday, you needed to get a C- on this test to bump your score enough to go to the trip." He paused. Tears were forming in Rainbow's eyes, and he put a hoof on her shoulder. "I know you were looking forward to this, and I wish there was something I could do, but the school board would not go for it. I'm sorry, Rainbow Dash," he said as he removed his hoof from her shoulder. She took the test in her mouth and darted out of the room past Fluttershy and to the door of the school as fast as she could. Fluttershy eventually managed to catch up to a sulking Rainbow Dash. Rainbow was leaning over a bench, her head on her hooves. Her test on the floor was covered in tears. But I really tried this time," she said through her tears. Fluttershy put a hoof on Rainbow's shoulder as she approached from behind. "It's going to be okay, Rainbow," Fluttershy said in a soft voice. "No, it's not going to be okay. This was my last chance to boost my grade enough so I can go to the class trip, and I didn't make the cut," Rainbow said, still crying. "Rainbow, it's just a class trip. There will be..." "It wasn't just a class trip. It was a trip to see the Wonderbolts perform in Manehatten," Rainbow snapped. Fluttershy knew Rainbow was a big fan of the Wonderbolts, and she knew Dash dreamed to be a Wonderbolt someday. "Even Derpy got an A+ on this test! Derpy! What's wrong with me?" Rainbow said, starting to cry even more. It was unlike Dash to cry over anything, but this was something very important to her. Come to it, it was the Wonderbolts after all. "Rainbow, there will be other chances to see..." Again, Fluttershy was cut off. "No, I know what I'm gonna do," Rainbow said as she raised her head and wiped her tears off her eyes. "Rainbow, don't do anything stupid," Fluttershy said, knowing almost exactly what was going to come out of Rainbow's mouth before she even said it. "I'm going to cut class tomorrow and catch a train to Manehatten. Then I'll get a ticket to the show once I'm there." I just knew you were going to say something like that," Fluttershy said. "But I'm going to need some help pulling this off," Rainbow said. What do you need me to do?" Fluttershy said, seemingly overconfident for Fluttershy, but when she was around Dash, her confident side always shined. A few hours later at Dash's house in Cloudsdale, Fluttershy was staying for the night, and Rainbow was planning on what she was going to do. "If I catch the early train, I could be in Manehatten before school even starts. But if I catch the late train, there is less of a chance of me being spotted. I mean, come on, who doesn't know Rainbow Dash?" Rainbow said. Fluttershy rolled her eyes at Rainbow's comment, Inwardly, she was thinking, a lot of people don't. But outwardly, she stayed silent. Fluttershy, what do you think? Take the late train, like you said. You don't want to be spotted, Fluttershy said. She didn't even look up from her book she was reading. But what I'm going to do for money, Rainbow thought out loud, hinting to Fluttershy. Rainbow, did you go through all your summer earnings again? Fluttershy asked, this time looking up from her book. Maybe, but hey, check out this neat poster I got during the summer, Rainbow said, pointing a large poster of the Wonderbolts. How many bits do you need? Fluttershy sighed as she reached into her mane and pulled out a small purse with her mouth. I think about 100 to do it. 100? Yeah, 25 for the train and 75 for the show. Fluttershy looked into her purse. She only has exactly 100 bits left. She had been saving it for heartwarming Eve presents, but Rainbow Dash was her friend, and she could never say no to Rainbow. Fine, Fluttershy said, pulling the bits out and putting them on the table in front of Rainbow. Thanks, Rainbow said, as she took the bits and put them in a purse she had sitting next to her bed. Girls, lights out, it's time for bed, Rainbow's mother yelled from downstairs. Okay, Mom, Rainbow yelled back. She blew out the candle in her room, and Fluttershy and Dash went to their respective beds. Fluttershy stayed over so often that Rainbow's parents had set up a cot in Rainbow's room just for her. I can't wait till tomorrow, Rainbow said, overly excited about seeing the Wonderbolts. Just go to bed, Fluttershy said. She was tired, and she, unlike Dash, had to get up and go to school tomorrow. A few hours later. Fluttershy woke up Rainbow as she was getting ready for school. What time is it? Rainbow moaned. 6:45, Fluttershy said, in a hushed voice. Did my parents leave for work yet? Rainbow asked. Yes, your father left an hour ago, and your mother just left 15 minutes ago, Fluttershy said. When does the train leave? Rainbow asked. She was still half asleep and gauging on how much longer she could sleep. In about, 15 minutes, Fluttershy said. Okay. Wake me up when you leave, Rainbow said. Rainbow, I'm leaving now. You should probably get up now and get ready, Fluttershy said. Wait, did you just say 15 minutes? Rainbow said, jumping out of the bed and falling into the floor. Yes, I think so. Fluttershy was now getting nervous as she upset her friend. It takes 15 minutes to fly to the station? Rainbow yelled. Oh, Rainbow. Fluttershy reverted to her overly nervous self. It's okay, Fluttershy. Just go to school. I'll see you at the show, Rainbow said. Oh, okay, Fluttershy said, leaving the room, and then began flying to school. A few minutes later, Rainbow was speeding off to the train station. She had to catch the train. The only other train leaving for Manhattan was the train the school was using, and she would be spotted instantly. Rainbow flew faster and faster. The faint whistle of the train sounded, signaling the last call for all to get on. Rainbow strained to fly fast enough to make it, although, even for her, it was seemingly impossible. Just a bit further, she thought to herself. Her wings felt like she was on fire, but she couldn't give up now. She was so close. The whistle sounded again, signaling the train was leaving. No! Rainbow yelled. The train had just begun moving away from the station when she landed on the platform. Were you meant to be on that train, lass? An old Pegasus said. He was tall and wore a blue coat and glasses. He had a stopwatch on his hoof. Yes, you have to help me, Rainbow said. Tears started to form in her eyes as she watched the train leave. She was about to lose all the chances of getting to the performance. You know, could have stopped the train if I knew you were coming. The train moved off. Its whistle blew once again as it moved farther and farther away from the station, and eventually, out of sight over a small hill. Tears streaked through Rainbow's face. She was going to miss the performance by her idols, and worse, when the school got to the station, she would be caught and sent to school and probably get a detention for skipping class. Don't fret, young lass. We'll get you where you need to go. There is another train coming in the next 15 minutes. You can always catch that one, he said. No, you don't understand. I can't go on the next train. Rainbow started to cry even more. She stopped talking and sat down on the station floor.
I failed again.
She thought to herself.
Maybe they were right. Maybe I am just a failure.
The words rang in her head.
Rainbow Crash. Rate of fail rang slow.
She just sat crying. Her whole life was a failure in her eyes. This one event made her think her life was over. Young lass, what's the matter? The Pegasus asked as he walked over to her and put his stopwatch in his coat pocket. It's not important anymore. I failed, Rainbow said. She started trotting to the door of the station, not even going to fly. She was so self-defeated that she was walking. The Pegasus put a hoof on her shoulder. I'd be around long to know when something is important. You could tell me. Come on, what's bothering you? He asked as he sat down on a bench, and he gestured for her to sit down as well. As she sat down, for the next 5 minutes, she poured her heart out. She explained her situation at school, how she idolized the Wonderbolts, how she was meant to be on the train because she wanted to see the show. Ah, I see. You're so concerned over the show that you'll be willing to get yourself into more trouble than it's worth, he said. I guess, Rainbow said. Don't fret, young lass. I can get you on the train. You'll still help me? Even though... Rainbow trailed off. Why not? I did my fair share of stupid things when I was young. What's one more for an old Pegasus? He said. She hugged him and then got up from the bench. Thank you so much! She exclaimed. Now, you will need to hide yourself. But don't worry, I have a plan. He explained the plan to Rainbow and she agreed. Sometimes that filly... One of the teachers was mumbling to himself as Fluttershy, as well as several other Pegasi, followed him to the train station. As they got on the train, a figure in a dark coat boarded the train and sat down behind one of the students. The figure was, of course, Rainbow Dash. All aboard! Yelled the conductor as the train whistle blew. The train started to move. Rainbow looked out the window and waved to the Pegasus that helped her. The rest of the trip was uneventful until they reached their station. Rainbow slipped out of the train and made her way to the stadium where the Wonderbolts were performing. Rainbow had just made it to the stadium and was just about to receive a ticket until the Earth Pony at the desk spoke. It's 90 bits for a ticket. But I only have 75, Rainbow said. 90 or I can't let you in, he said. But you don't understand. I have to get in. The Wonderbolts... She was cut off. No bits, no ticket. Next! But Rainbow said, being pushed out of the way by the next pony in line. Tears once again started to streak down her face as she sat down against the wall. She would never get to see her idols. Hey, kid, a feminine voice said. Rainbow ignored this voice, not assuming it was talking to her. Hey, kid, what's the matter? The voice said. Rainbow felt a hoof on her shoulder. Me? She said through her tears. She didn't look up. Yes, you, the voice said. It's nothing. I'm never going to see my idols perform today, she said. Your idols, huh? The voice asked. Rainbow looked up slightly and could see a blue figure standing in front of her. Through closer observation, it wasn't just a blue figure. It was a figure in a blue suit. The hood on the suit was down and an orange Pegasus was visible. Oh my gosh! Rainbow exclaimed as her frown turned to a smile. The Pegasus in front of Rainbow just smiled. You're your Spitfire! Rainbow exclaimed once again, breaking into a string of words that was hard to understand, sounding like, oh my gosh, or something similar. Yeah, I am, Spitfire said. Just then, Soren trotted up behind Spitfire. Who's this filly? Another fan of yours, Spitfire? Soren said. You're Soren! Rainbow said, not managing to say anything else. Yes, I'm Soren, he said. You never told me why you were so upset. What's your name, kid? Spitfire said. I'm Rainbow Dash, and I was trying to get into your show. I rode a train and everything, spending almost all of my money. Then I finally got here, and I only had 75 bits, and the show was 90 bits, Rainbow said. Why don't you come with us? Spitfire said. Really? Yeah, come enjoy the show from the best seat in the house. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh! Rainbow said as she was being led to the stadium by Spitfire and Soren. Eventually, Rainbow was discovered and she was given detention and summer school, but it didn't matter to her. She got to meet her idols, and that's all that mattered. She eventually did improve her grades, and nothing like this ever happened again. Rainbow Dash sat in Twilight's library. She wanted to send a letter to Princess Celestia about this for a while now, and then she started speaking.
Dear Princess Celestia, years ago, I learned a valuable lesson. Don't give up on something just because it doesn't interest you, because someday it might be relevant to your life. And when you try the thing, you fail because you never give it much thought. If you try the things that don't interest you, and keep trying, even though they're boring, you will find that it will benefit you in the long run. And, if you still fail, there's always the kindness of other ponies that you can rely on. If you entertain that worst case scenario, your loyal subject, Rainbow Dash.
Come on, Rainbow. Are you almost done? I want to go to Rarity's place, Spike said. He had several papers next to him, all entitled to Princess Celestia, all with crossed out words and whited out lines of text, torn and bent and piled up in a trash can. Yeah, this is the one. Send it, Spike, Rainbow said, after reading it over to herself. Spike stood up and wrapped the paper in a red ribbon with a gold seal on it. He threw it up into the air and breathed a plum of green fire, and the letter was gone, as the fire went out the window and proceeded to Canterlot. The letter appeared next to Celestia in a green puff of green fire. The end. Hello, everypony. Snogwritts here. Hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, be sure to leave a like, and, if you haven't already, subscribe for more readings like this one every Saturday. Alright, that's it for me. This is Snogwritts, signing out.